there's a lot of videos out there about turning your hobbies into hustles, and it's not as hard as you may think. But it all depends on how far you want to go. So, side hustles are very much part of today's personal finance investing culture as a thing to help you make a little bit more money. And I have a video on basically my commentary on the hustle and grind culture that pervades YouTube. But in this video, I'm going to talk to you about using some of your hobbies and basically strategies for turning your hobbies into side hustles. But before we begin, please like, comment, subscribe. I would really appreciate it, as always. And without further ado, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about turning your hobbies into hustles. And in order to do this, I'm going to basically tell you a few stories of mine, because what better way to teach people than the ancient art of storytelling? And for those of you who are returned, you may have noticed I have a new character in my studio. This little glass man over here. Ah, it's very cool, isn't it? Who's a little glass man? Yes, you're a little glass man. You're a little glass man. Yes, you are. Yes, you are a little glass man. Yeah, you like your ball joint clamp scratched. Yeah. Anyway, it's just something new. Perhaps I'll do a video on the story of the glass man. It's actually a very interesting business story for all intents and purposes. So as some of you may know, I have a wide variety of interests and hobbies, all of which are very enjoyable. But I would like to share with you a few strategies and things that I've done in the past in order to offset some of the costs associated with those hobbies. One hobby I have is Taekwondo. And back in graduate school, I did a lot of Taekwondo. It was probably the peak of my Taekwondo training. And we were poor graduate students and we were associated with the dojang. And while we paid money to use the dojang and get training, one thing, a benefit that we had is that we actually helped the master teach some classes. So we would be able to teach some of the younger students, not associated with the university. In exchange, he would give us a discounted rate for our tuition. So we had to pay to go, but basically he charged us the lowest level of membership, but gave us the highest level of training opportunities. So this is a way that helped us offset a lot of costs, and we got the maximum benefit in terms of training. This also applies to things like the YMCA. I used to work at the YMCA when I was in college, front desk membership services, but I also like to work out. One of the perks of working at the YMCA is that I would get free membership. And this could be very advantageous if you're trying to just offset the costs of your local gym. You can actually work there either doing some simple mundane task like membership services front desk, and you don't even have to work all that much. You can just work like an hour or two, or even just a little bit, half a day on maybe the weekend, and you're able to save hundreds of dollars over the course of a year, or even just a few $100s, a month, depending on what the cost of the membership is. Another thing that you can do in that kind of situation is not necessarily get a position at that gym as a front desk membership services or an admin, but actually as a trainer or someone who can teach a class. And in that case, it's a little bit more active. You're not just going there and you're just sitting there, kind of being bored and only, talking to people as they come in, but you would only go in for a class that you would teach a few times, but it would give you membership and you wouldn't have to pay for it. Also, in this case of the gym, you would also get paid. So not only are you not paying for membership and getting the benefits of membership, but they are also paying you. So you might be thinking, okay, Alex, so that's all like great if you're into just physical activity. Is there something else? I enjoy partying. Can you make the hobby of partying something? Well, actually, you can. So you may actually find this kind of surprising, and there are some rules and limitations. But I'm associated with a religious organization, and this religious organization likes to throw social events for people in their 20s and 30s. But they need volunteers, they need people to organize these kinds of events. Money isn't really that much of an issue. They just don't have volunteers to create events. And events are things that they really enjoy. They highly value bringing people together. It's an advertising opportunity. It just strengthens the community in general. So they'll actually give me money to create an event. And for me, I'm like, okay, I have to put some work in to create that event, but they'll basically pay for all the food and drinks and things like that. The reason I tell you all these things is that there are a myriad of examples of how you can not necessarily make tons of money through side hustles, but basically a way of offsetting the costs of hobbies that you may have. And one of the important things that I want to mention with regard to this is really, it's an active scale. On one end, there is very little to no involvement. And in that case, you're paying for everything. And then there's like a little bit of involvement. You get a job at the Y, you start to teach a little bit, and that can really help like offset costs associated with your gym membership or Taekwondo classes or stuff like that. And then on the other side, you can also just make it a full-on career. Like, I could teach Taekwondo full-time. I could actually work at, say, like, my religious organization full-time and, like, create the events. So, Dad, how far did you take your hobby? Too far. Too far. But all of these things are on some kind of scale of involvement. So I think that almost no matter what hobby you have, there are ways you can monetize it as long as it's providing value to somebody, or not necessarily monetize it to make it another job, but a way that you can offset the costs that would normally be associated with a thing that you enjoy. The other thing that's very important that I want to talk to you about is that when it comes to some of these hobbies, you may have a huge number of hobbies. And it would be very difficult in order to monetize or offset the cost of the hobbies that you have. And this is where the essentialist principle starts to come in. It was actually a Matt D'Avella video where he had Matt D'Avella had Greg McKeown on his YouTube channel, and Greg was promoting the book Essentialism, which in a nutshell is the disciplined pursuit of less but better. And one of the key points is actually to have just a few things that you really enjoy doing and like and excel in, instead of just going all over the place in a ton of different things. And so to a certain degree, if you apply some of the essentialist principles, you only stick to a few things that you are really interested in, it might not be that hard for you to monetize or offset the cost of those specific hobbies because there are only a few and you really focus on them. There's an intentionality about them that you have. You don't necessarily have to have a full-on side hustle in addition to your full-time job in order to just make extra money that you can invest, although that's still a good idea. But saving money by offsetting the costs on things that you already enjoy may be just as good. If you found any value in this video, please like, comment, subscribe. I try to make interesting personal finance investing videos that have some kind of thought-provoking idea. In this case, you don't have to go full-on side hustle. You can kind of offset the costs of your hobbies, which is just as good from a savings perspective. There is a level of involvement that you will have with your hobbies. Some of them you only do very infrequently. Some of them you may be more involved in. And when you're more involved in them, you can probably find ways to monetize or simply offset the cost. And in some cases, you may want to completely monetize your hobbies to make them your full-time job. But it's a sliding scale. It is up to you to determine where on the scale you want to be. Alright folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.